Thanks. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. I don't know if we're all coming from the same part of the country, but we're expecting some heavy rains and wind where we are today. And I know a lot of that's been bringing a lot of damage. You know, like we need more things to have happen in our areas. But I guess it's just another sign that, you know, we can't control our situation. We can't control our circumstances, but what we're doing with mindfulness is we are learning how to change our response to what happens around us. And can we do that all the time? Does it always work? No, and that's why we practice. Practice is so important. When it comes to mindfulness, there's both the formal practice of mindfulness, which is what we do when we come into our upright seated posture. We soften our shoulders, relax our abdomen, close our eyes if we choose to. The whole process of setting your body up to start practice is really important. And I can't emphasize it enough to not skip over that, to not just be like, oh, okay, I know what I need to do. I'll just close my eyes and I'll just listen to what she's saying. As I'm guiding you into setting up your posture, closing your eyes, coming into that upright seated posture, feeling as though you have an invisible string that runs through the center of your body, coming out the top of your head that just pulls you upright, talking about grounding the feet, softening the abdomen, dropping your tongue from the roof of the mouth. The default position for our tongue is to press it into the roof of the mouth. We don't even realize how many times a day we do that and how that impacts our ability to add more tension and stress to our facial muscles. And for those of us who experience TMJ, I think it's transmandibular jaw syndrome, for those of us who experience TMJ, which I've had it on and off throughout my life, what I found is the more I relax the tension in that jaw, the less apt I am to have that. So releasing that tongue just kind of presses up there. Soften that tongue when we go into practice. Soften the tongue throughout the day. Notice if you're doing that. Notice if while you're reading a doing something where you're not talking, where your tongue is inactive, just bring attention to that and notice and drop that tongue, soften it. If you need an anchor point in your mouth, meaning if you have to have it rest somewhere, take the tip of your tongue and just place it where the gum line meets the back of your teeth, and then just softly position the tip of your tongue there. For the rest of us, just let the tongue soften. So that could mean it sort of free floats in the mouth or it drops to the bottom. These are just things that we do when we start to practice our formal meditation, our formal mindfulness. All of these little things that we do and that I talk about, they may sound redundant. And for those of you who've been with me before, and I recognize a lot of names here, for those of you who practiced with me before, you know that I have a certain pattern, a certain rhythm, a certain manner to starting each meditation. And the reason why is because I want it to become just like muscle memory, so that we don't even have to think about it. We just come into this. So don't skip that. It's so important. You know, sitting back and doing this, and I have my legs crossed on the ground and kind of hunched over and leaning my head and going, all right, I'm just going to listen. You know, you think you're relaxed, you think you're comfortable, but we're practicing mindfulness, and mindfulness is really about engaging the body in a way that enables us to stay alert, to stay awake, and to really have a relationship with ourselves where we start to recognize every time we enter into this posture, the body starts to just know, oh, okay, this is time to practice mindfulness. This is my formal time now. So I can't emphasize enough not to skip over the setting up the posture. So as I do that each and every time we meet, I encourage you to do it every time. You know, fight the thoughts that are going to come. Oh, I've heard this before. I have just one more email I have to answer. Maybe I'll just eat a snack or have a cup of coffee or take a drink or run to the bathroom. Try to do all that before we meet. I do recognize, however, that this is a different world we live in, and that many of us have other obligations, not just what we're doing right here and now, but we have work that may be calling us away from what we're doing. And I never, ever judge anyone for popping in and out of these sessions. I also want to remind everybody, if you sign up on my meetup site, some people are on my meetup site, which is called Mindful Presence Meditation. If you sign up on my meetup site and you don't show up for a meeting, please don't think I'm keeping track of people's names and who said they were coming and who wasn't. I'm lucky if I can remember the day of the week right now. And I think that's probably the same with all of us. You know, it's like, is it Friday? Is it Sunday, Monday? You know, like I even have to think about the date. So if you sign up and you can attend, no judgment. I mean, pop in when you're able to. Please don't make that something to be embarrassed or uncomfortable about and not show up again. It doesn't matter. I mean, this is probably one of the most non-judgmental groups of people you're ever going to encounter. We've all been through this. We've all joined things, signed up for classes, and not shown up for them. There's nothing new about this. And because we're living in this new world with new rules and a new sort of norm to how the pattern of life is, I don't want you to feel as though you have to stick to the rhythm of things. You know, again, just reminding us that even though our videos are all turned off, we are all together. Whoever comes for these sessions, whoever watches them, whoever views them, we are all together. We are all practicing at one time. One other thing that I did want to mention to everybody, I chatted it, I put it in the chat about the fact that I am going to start posting these sessions on my YouTube channel, which is called Less Stress with Mindfulness. Those sessions that I post on that website are available 24/7, 365. And Bill, I see you're here with me too. You don't have to turn on your video, but I wanted to let you know, Bill, oddly enough, that session you asked me about, it actually did record. And the funny thing is, the one I did after it, that I requested it be recorded, it didn't record. So for some reason, I think it was last Monday, I had an issue with, and only a few seconds of it recorded. So I think there's just inherent glitches to the system right now with recording, probably because between the hours of probably 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., 6 p.m., probably the heaviest usage with Zoom right now. So I will post sessions as they become available so that everybody has an opportunity to look at past sessions. And I encourage you to take a look at it if you missed something that I said, or if there's something that you want to try to do again, or just practice again. There's also on that YouTube channel are meditations that I posted about a year or two ago from a program that I produced on BCTV, which is a local affiliate here where I live in New Hampshire. And those shows are there. So there's probably about 7 of them that I think I have downloaded. And believe it or not, I have some others I've never even gotten to put up. You know, like I said in my introductory post on YouTube, my intention was to post things far more often than I have over the years. But now with everything happening and spending a lot more time in my home office, I am going to be posting more of those. So enjoy, pass it around, sign up, subscribe. I'd like to, get as many people as I can. The nice thing about the subscription is you're always reminded when I post new material. I'm going to be doing live impromptu meditations on my YouTube channel. I may just pop on and say, okay, everybody, if you've got 5 minutes, come and join me. We're going to close our eyes and we're going to practice. Or I may do a 15 or a 10-minute live. I really want to make full use of that. So pop in and out as often as you want. So welcome, everybody. We're going to start formal practice now. Just a gentle reminder, I often look off to the right. The only reason why I do that is I have a clock, and I prefer to look at that than tapping my screen all the time to see the digital time. So I have a clock over here. If you need to leave at a particular time, feel free to set your timer or your alarm or whatever you need to. Since everybody has themselves on mute, we won't hear that sound. So you're welcome to do that. But if you can be here for the full time, I encourage you to let me be the timekeeper. It really helps for you to just be here in this moment, allow me to monitor the time and to walk us through what we're doing. So for right now, we're going to come into that comfortable seated posture that we talked about. And again, some of you may be lying down, perfectly fine. You may be reclining in a chair. Oh, one other thing I wanted to gently remind everybody, if you're new to me or to meditation, I have these little chimes. I typically will ring it once to start our formal practice, and I ring it 3 times at the end of our session. The typical response or the typical way to respond to the chimes is at the end of the session, wait until you can no longer hear the 3rd chime, the ringing of the last strike of the bell. It has a beautiful tone. They're brass, and they have a tendency to really, really carry that beautiful tone for a bit of time. So the rule of thumb is keep yourself in your upright or your lying down posture, not putting any excessive movement into things until you can't hear the last chime, until you stop hearing that. And you can open your eyes and bring movement. But again, you're welcome to move at any time. If people have to use the restroom, please do. If you need to take a sip of water, I know I have my little thing of water here, so be comfortable, number 1. So I'm going to have everybody come into that comfortable, upright, seated posture. If you're lying on the floor, have your feet flop open to the sides. So rather than having them pointed up towards the ceiling where you're holding them, just let them open up naturally. Let them sort of fall open. If you're on the floor, palms face up or face down, arms stretched out at your sides. For those of us in the chair, our feet are flat on the floor. Our spine is as straight as we can make it in the chair that we're in. We don't want to add any added tension to the shoulders. So allow there to be a gentle slope. We often have a tendency to put some tension in those shoulders. So even if you want, do a couple gentle shoulder rolls, backward and forward. And then pull those shoulders up gently as though you could touch them to your earlobes and then let them drop. And just do that one more time. Just pull those shoulders up gently as though you could touch them to your earlobes and let them drop. Just a gentle reminder for the body to drop into position, to soften the shoulders. The head is in what we call a neutral position. So we're not putting the chin down. We are not pointing the chin up at the ceiling. We're keeping it in a nice spine neutral position so that there's just this elongation of the spine. And you can see when you tilt the head up or down, for those of you who are watching, you can see that you really restrict the movement. So maybe just gently tilt the chin down a little bit. Eyes opened or closed, always a personal preference. Many different schools of thought about, should I practice with my eyes open or closed? I've practiced many different styles of meditation, and I can tell you it is completely up to you to decide. If you are sleepy, if you feel as though you're going to start nodding off, gently open the eyes, keep them cast down. For those of you on your back and you're looking up at the ceiling, just keep a soft focus on the ceiling. But for those of us who are seated, just sort of cast the eyes downward, but don't tilt the head down. So the eyes are just gazing gently down. And again, if it's comfortable for you, just closing the eyes, allowing your jaw to relax by releasing that tongue from the roof of the mouth. Softening your shoulders, softening your abdomen. We hold a lot of tension in our abdomens, so let's really relax the muscles. Even notice as we bring attention or awareness to this part of the body, do we notice a residual softening? Just soften that abdomen. Your hands can be face up or face down on your thighs. They can be resting on the arms of the chair that you're seated on. And again, as I mentioned, if you're lying down, have your arms out at your sides, palms face up or face down. And same thing for those of us seated. Some of us may prefer to have the palms up and others the palms down. The point is to not be leaning so far forward. So for those of us that feel as though we're getting a little bit too much tension in our shoulders, that may be because we're reaching too far forward with our arms. Try moving your hands or your arms in a little closer to your body. Maybe dangling the hands off the arms of your chair, because many of us are practicing at our computer. Maybe just let the arms sort of drape, your arms drape over the arms of the chair that you're seated in, and see if that helps. And breathe. And not that we haven't been breathing all along, but bringing awareness to that breath. And then remembering to soften our toes. A lot of times we put tension on ourselves by tightening our toes or curling them up really tightly. So maybe just wiggle your toes a little bit in your shoes or your slippers or sandals, or maybe whatever you have on, or even if you don't, if you're just in bare feet, just wiggle those toes a little bit to release some of that tension that we often hold on to. And just remembering that we hold a lot of tension in our bodies. And what happens is over the years, we become very acclimatized, we start to normalize that sensation of tension in our bodies, so much so that we're not even aware that we're creating a lot of that tension. So it's really good to do a check like this, not just when we sit down to practice formal meditation, but maybe at different points throughout the day, especially for those of us who are working out of our home office. We're finding ourselves seated a lot at the computer. Really notice that tension and maybe do a few shoulder rolls, do a few very gentle circulation rolls with the head. And again, those are usually just very gently, just rotating the head, the neck. No sudden jarring moves with any of that. So coming into this formal time for our practice, and what I'd like you to do is start to settle in Start to notice the sounds that are occurring around you, not just the sound of my voice, but noticing what you might be hearing in your environment where you're at. Might be the sound of your breath or breathing. Might be the sound of your stomach making noise from having eaten something recently or had a cup of coffee or water. Digestion. And then expand that capacity to hear and listen outward, maybe noticing sounds around you in the room. The sound of a clock ticking or the heat circulating or fan that you may have on, or your computer making a whirring noise or sound. And then letting your awareness of sound travel out a little further to outside, maybe in the hallway or the rooms around you or downstairs. Noticing if you're hearing any noise that's traveling from other places where you're at. And again, just remembering, like I mentioned at the beginning, we rarely can change circumstances to suit our needs. So learning to be with things exactly as they are, which is what we're doing right now, without judgment. Doing things like saying, oh, I wish I didn't have to hear that noise. Boy, I didn't really notice that my stomach's making so much noise right now. Or I can really hear my kids playing downstairs, or I can hear my cat scratching at the door, or my dog down below barking, or whatever it is that you might be hearing that may not be the most conducive to practicing meditation. But just remember, we can't always control that. And the world around us isn't always completely silent. So we learn to be with things as they are. We notice the judgments and the thoughts that may pop up, but we just come right back to just noticing the sounds you're hearing without having to maybe label them. Maybe not even label them, just listen. Just listen to the sounds around you. Listen to the sounds outside. Whether you have the window opened or closed, just listening. Mindfulness of sound, just bringing awareness to what we're hearing. And we may have 30, 40, 50 conversations going on in our head at the same time. Perfectly normal. Body doesn't like to sit still like this. That's why we have to train it. Brain is a muscle. We are learning every time we do this to bring some semblance of relaxation, some semblance of calm and focus. May only happen for a second or 10 seconds or 60 seconds or 5 minutes. Maybe you can stay focused for 10 or 15. Doesn't matter. We still practice. It literally is changing the way we respond to stress, the way we respond to things that occur in our environment. So we're learning to respond more and react less. We want to respond more and react less. So I want to be quiet for a few minutes because I want you to really have an opportunity to notice what you hear. Even if you have AirPods on or headphones, notice if you hear the sound of your heart beating or yourself breathing. Just take this time to practice in silence for a few minutes and just listen. And as you do this, just notice once in a while your body. Notice, soften that abdomen, straighten those shoulders, or straighten the back. Notice if the tongue crept back to the roof of your mouth. Breathe and listen. I'd even like everybody to take a gentle swallow right now of saliva. Just listen to the sound of just that gentle motion of swallowing. Just listen internally to those sounds. And then what I'd like to do is I want everybody, if you can right now, to take your hands. You don't have to watch me. Take your hands and I want you to just gently press your palms together. Just gently press them so that there's points of contact from the base of the palm all the way up to your fingertips. Gently press that hand together, those hands together. And all I want you to do is notice what you feel when you do that. Notice the parts of your hand, both hands, that are making contact with one another. I want you to breathe. Don't hold your breath. And again, no tension. Don't create tightness or tension in your arms or your face when you do this. Just a gentle pressing together of the palms. I want you to notice if you feel any heat emanating from your hands or your palms. Do some parts of the hand feel a bit warmer than others? Or are you very aware of cool spots? So just gently pressing those hands together and noticing what you feel. Then I want you to take your hands and I want you to gently just rub them back and forth. So one palm is passing over the other and you're just lightly causing a bit of movement to those two palms that are pressed together. And then I want you to just notice what you feel when you do this. Do you still feel any heat or coolness? Does it change your perception of what you're feeling? Then what I'd like you to do is make small circles with those palms together, just circulating each palm. So you're not pressing them together, obviously, and making circles. You're rotating them. And you're creating this very gentle circular motion with each palm. And I want you to feel into that and just notice, is there some roughness to your hands? With all of us washing our hands so often, I wouldn't be surprised if everybody here is feeling places of chappedness, dryness, and hands badly in need of moisturization. So just notice. And then I want you to take your fingers as though you were going to place them together. So I want you to interlace your fingers, interlace those fingers, and then I want you to just slide your fingers back and forth. So just create some gentle movement with those fingers moving in and out, in between. So it's almost like you have uh, two combs that are sort of interlocked with each other, and you're gently moving the tongues of the comb back and forth over each other. And of course, you're welcome to open your eyes if you wanted to see what the movement looks like. It's not going to ruin anything that you're doing. So you're just gently, and again, notice what this part of the hand feels like. Is it smoother? Is there still that sensation of roughness? Do you still feel heat or coolness? Then what I'd like you to do is place one palm on top of the other. Doesn't matter which one, right over left, left over right. And I want you to just sit with the palm on top of the hand, no movement, and notice. Notice if it feels warm or cool. Are you aware of any sensation of roughness or smoothness? And then I want you to take the opposite hand and slowly place it on top of the other hand. So the palm, opposite palm, makes contact with the other hand now. And what does that feel like? Warm, cool, rough, smooth. Are you aware of any blood circulation or pulsation in the hand? And you may not be feeling any of these things. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means in your awareness right now, you're noticing whatever you're noticing. So there's no right or wrong thing to feel. Now I want you to come back with the palms pressed together. So palms pressed together, fingers to fingers. And I want you to just keep those hands pressed together for just about 10 seconds. Just holding those palms together. And then what I want you to do is take your palms and gently place them on the sides of your neck or your cheeks or the jawline, wherever you want to place them, neck, jawline. And then just notice what that feels like, what the hands feel like. And then bringing the palms of the hands back together and then placing them back into that comfortable posture that you had them in. So whether they were face up or face down on the thighs, resting or hanging off the arms of the chair, or just lying down next to you if you're lying down on the floor. Palms face up or face down, and breathe. Just a gentle exercise to bring awareness, to bring mindfulness into our bodies, to make ourselves be here now, and to really notice. And how often do we really feel into what we're doing sometimes? I think we're so much more aware of our hands right now because of the constant face washing. Sorry, hand washing, because of the constant need to clean our hands. We are much more aware of that dryness. And because we're being asked to wash those hands for 20 seconds at a time, maybe when we're doing that, perhaps really bringing awareness into that action that we're doing. Try to bring mindfulness in those informal moments into our daily life so that it's not just something you have to do, but noticing what you're doing as you're doing it, noticing when you're reaching for the soap, turning on the faucet, rubbing your hands together, soaping your hands up, rinsing them, and then using the towel or whatever you use, paper towel or towel, to dry. And bringing some loving attention. and care and compassion to those hands. They are taking a lot. We're using alcohol more than we ever have. We're putting things on our hands that are drying them out. So using some hand cream or lotion, preferably things that don't have parabens in them or chemicals that are not good for us. And really feeling into that. When you do that, again, bring mindfulness into these informal moments, not just formally as we're doing right now together. And now what I'd like you to do, I want you to bring your attention to your breath, to your breathing. And I want you to choose a spot in the body that we're just going to follow our breath as it gently exits and enters our body. Typically, the spots we choose are either at our nostrils as we inhale and exhale. Could be the back of your throat or your tongue if you're breathing through your mouth. Another spot could be your chest, the rise and fall of your rib cage as you inhale and exhale. And the last spot is typically the abdominal area, noticing the rise and fall of your abdomen as you breathe. So pick one spot. And for the next 4 or 5 minutes together, we're going to do this in silence. I want you to stay with your breath as it enters and exits. Let your thoughts just come and go, just like clouds in the sky, not gripping onto them or holding tightly, just letting them drift. And coming back to that spot you've picked over and over. Try not to jump around from spot to spot. Pick one spot and stay with it. And we'll do this for a few moments. And I'll ring the bells when we're done. Ring the chime when we're done. So some silent practice. Just a gentle reminder to notice if your tongue has crept back to the roof of your mouth, to keep your abdomen soft and breathe. Remember to keep that spine elongated for those of us who are seated. Shoulders soft. And breathe. Before we end our time together today, I just wanted to send some loving kindness out there to everyone, not only to those of you who are here listening or joined us earlier this morning, but to everybody around you, everyone around us in our communities, the world at large, just sending these silent wishes of loving kindness, and you're welcome to repeat them to yourselves. May we all be well. May we all be happy. May we all live a life filled with ease. And as in all things, I love to send it out to all living things, not just human beings, but every living being out there. So, repeating silently, if you choose to after me, may all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings live a life filled with ease. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Everybody have a great day. Don't blow away. Batten down the hatches. I hear the wind sort of blowing a little heavier outside today. So take care. Bye, Bill. Take care, everybody. Have a lovely day. And I am going to post this later. And Bill, I am going to post that other one on my site too. Okay. So thanks for telling me about that. Bye, everybody. Bye. Deb, it's good to see you. Take care. Denise, how you doing? Yeah. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.